First thing we're doing is measuring protractors, or measuring angles. To measure them, step number one, boys and girls, is to look at the angle and decide if the angle is an acute angle or obtuse. In other words, is that angle greater than 90 degrees, less than 90 degrees, or does it look like 90 degrees? And that's incredibly important because people get these wrong all the time because they don't do that. So with that in mind, what I would like you to do right now is take a look at the 9 angles you have here, and in this little blank here, you can put the letter A for acute, O for obtuse, or 90 degrees if you think it looks like 90 degrees. So like this one, obviously that's less than 90 degrees, so I'm going to put the letter A there. This one here, I don't know. That's kind of a question mark. It's going to be right around 90 degrees. This one here, obviously bigger than 90 degrees, so obtuse. Got all that down. See what you got there. Should take you 30 seconds or less on that. And even if you don't get all the way, as long as we get the first couple, so we're ready to roll here. Got that? All right. Step number 2. Now I'm going to do it right here because I ran out of room here. The little measuring device that you have is called a protractor. Step number 2, when you look at your angle, and these angles on your paper are much, much, much too small to measure with your ginormous protractors. So step number 2, if your angle is too small, is you have to extend the lines of the angle, or the rays of the angle. So you're going to need to take, and some people struggle with this. Apparently we don't in this world teach a good deal of how to extend line. But take your ruler or whatever straightedge you have, your protractor, lay it on this line and make this line a lot longer than it is. Same thing with this one, make it a lot longer than it is, because you need a big angle so that it goes through your protractor so you can measure it. So if you would do that for the first one right now, take your protractor, and it's not freehand, and I see people freehand them, and I kind of have to say to myself, really? Come on, people, 6th grade. Here's a picture for the Tigers, I believe, a long time ago. You should be able to draw a straight line from the straight line you're given there. Some people are better at straight lines than others. It's a learn sort of thing. They know where my protractor went. Okay, step number trace. Number 3. Put the vertex of the angle in, I'm going to be very technical here, that little hole thingy on your protractor. Because there's no good way to say that. Which just means this. You're going to move your protractor, and yours, everybody's kind of got a different one, but there's a hole somewhere on your protractor, a little notch or a groove or something there. You need to move your protractor so that is on top. And unfortunately, mine's below the thing there, but I guess that's bad. Everybody got that? Step number 3 kind of goes along with that. Then you need to rotate your protractor. I'm sorry, step 4. Rotate your protractor so that one side is on the 0 degree line and the other goes through the protractor. And I'll explain that in a second here. That means this. Stop writing for just a moment. You can finish writing in a minute. You're going to spin your protractor right where it's at, and this is what I call the 0 degree line. Through that little holy thing on your protractor, there's either a black line that goes through it, or on mine it just happens to be the bottom of the protractor, but everybody's is kind of a little bit different. Hers doesn't have a complete line, but it's got a little crosshair, that line there, and it gets, Jaden actually has a nice black line all the way through it. Some of them are better than others. Okay, but you have to turn it, so that that line matches up with, mine's a little above it. The vertex stays in the hole, and that 0 degree line is on that line there, and the other line actually goes through your protractor. Some people do this and they do this. Well, I'm going to line it up like this. Sorry. I'm going to line it up like this. And yes, that line is lined up there, but the other side of the angle doesn't go through my protractor, so it doesn't do me any good. So you got to line it up so one side is on that line and the other side goes through the protractor. So yours should look like that. If you don't get that, raise your hand and I'll try to help you out with that. Now here comes the very important part. And I'm going to blow this way up if I can. Okay. Mine's going to be different. I think yours probably looks a little more like this. I'm going to spin this a little bit if I can. I think yours probably looks like this a little bit more. And you can't see it. Here is where a lot of people get really confused. You will look where this line, the other line goes through my protractor. There's actually two different numbers that I could choose. On the bottom you can't see it, but it says 50. And on the top you can't really see it, it says 130. Okay, one of those answers is right and one of them is wrong. How do I know which one is right, Keith?
Because the bottom ones would be the acute angles because they're less than 90 and the top one.
Well, and you can't always say bottom or not because it flip-flops, whatever, but you just have to know, you said that this angle was an acute angle. And acute angles have to be less than 90 degrees. 130 degrees is much bigger than 90 degrees, so you just have to say, well, the only option I have is that this angle be 50 degrees. And when you measure your angles, I will give you what I say plus or minus 2 degrees, which means if this is the answer I got, I'll give you all the way, you could measure it up to 52 degrees, which is plus 2 degrees of that, or subtract 2 degrees from that, which is 48 degrees. I'll accept on quizzes any answer that's between 48 and 52, just because copy machines do things a little bit differently. Your protractor might be off a little bit, you know, your line might be off a little bit, whatever, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of different, this is not, you can only get so exact, and this just gives you a little chance there. Everybody's good with that? Good. So let's go to number 2, see if you can do number 2. Sure. So the first thing you're still going to do is extend your lines. And it should be pretty quick. You should be able to measure these things relatively quickly. Whew. Working with these big, ginormous protractors is kind of tough. Well, this one's close to 90 degrees, so you're going to get either it is 90 degrees or you're going to get 89 degrees or 91 degrees. So you look at your protractor and see if extending the line makes it any different. It could very well be 90 degrees. It's kind of tough to tell. 90 degree angles are tough. Again, it all kind of depends on how your thing matches up here. And here's where you have to be a little careful here. What do you think? Did somebody get a measurement on Elijah? What did you come up with? Did you come up with something? 90? You said yours ended up right on 90 degrees? And I would go for that. I don't know if my line is too accurate there. All right, let's go to the third one. Now with the third one, children, please listen to me. There's more than one way to skin a cat on these sort of things here. Please know that because the third line probably gets awful close to the edge of your paper, it might be wiser for you, if you extend both of these lines, you can only go so far till you reach the end of your paper, right? then this one goes up here. When you do your protractor, it might be better for you, instead of putting the 0 degree here and this line being off your paper, you can turn your protractor, and actually put that on the 0 degree line and measure to this side over here where it does go through your protractor. You are still going to get the same answer. The angle doesn't change. Let's see what we get for an answer for this. Knowing that this is an obtuse angle, my two choices, it looks like to me, are, Jaden, what are my two choices?
130 and 140.
No, not 130, 140. This is 130, this is 140 mark here, this is the 130 mark. It's actually halfway between those two. And please make sure you're looking at this. My two choices are halfway between 40 and 50, which is, it's either 45 degrees or it's halfway between 130 and 140, which is 135 degrees. Which one, children, would make more sense? It's an obtuse angle, Laney Kavari, so 135. By the way, kids, if you add up these two numbers, what do you get? Anybody know? Elijah? What do you get if we would have added up the two numbers I had the choice of over here, which was 50 degrees or 130 degrees? 180. So what can you assume all of the top and bottom numbers, if you put them together, would always add up to? 180. 180, yeah. Go ahead and measure a few of those. I will come around and look and make sure. If you're struggling, let me know, and we'll see if we can't fix any problems you may or may not have at this current time. Sometimes they're hard to measure because they go off of your paper. You have those miniature protractors, which make life maybe a little easier. The smaller they are, the tougher it's going to be to come close with the measurements. Your protractor's where? Why would you not bring such a measuring device? Why don't you go get a protractor? And remember, in the winter you can make snow angles with these. And as long as you get relatively close, like these two, so accurate that you can do, especially with well, tiny protractors. Just keep them in your pocket at all times in case you need to measure. Perfect. Let's just go over the next few, and then we're going to do the next thing just because I don't want to get you going on it. Give you plenty of time to finish. Angle number 4, what did we come up with an answer for 4? Grace said 4 is 15 degrees, which I think that is correct. And again, plus or minus 2 degrees means I would accept anything from 13 to 17 degrees. Number 5. Brianna, what'd you get for 5?
96 degrees.
96 degrees, we have kind of consensus on that?
Yes.
Again, if you're in the ballpark, you can't have less than 90 though, because that one definitely is bigger than that. This one's a touch less than 90, so you should have something around what? Emily?
96.
I'm going to say, just looking at it, it's going to be a little less than 89. I don't know if anybody got something besides 89, but I'm going to say 88 or 87 would probably be. That looks like it's more than a 1 degree angle to me.
Yeah.
Off. But 89 is probably relatively close, so if you got like 87 or 88, I would go for that. Perfect, good. Flip your paper over, because on the back side we have to draw angles. To which you're gonna say, how do we draw?
How do we draw
The given angle.
And this will be quick, because once you know how to do one, you can do the other. Here is, what do I gotta do to get this thing to work? Zoom out. Zoom in. Let's look at the first one there. Here's the drawing angle thing here. Step number 1, draw yourself a ray. And draw it in such a place so that you have some room to work with. In other words, I'm going to draw myself just one straight line, probably right about here, going in this direction. Right? Good. Then number 2, I'm really going to do the same thing I did when I measured the angle. I'm going to put that whole thing in the vertex, put the vertex in the hole, and line up the 0 degree line. So it's really the same thing that you just did. You're going to slide your protractor so that the vertex, which we don't have yet, but make that right at the end. I would probably put a little bubble here and the arrow here, just so that I know which end is which. Put my protractor on there as best I can. Line up the thing as best I can. Struggling here. Call that good. Now, what you need to do for when I'm looking for 38 degrees there, is you need to put tick marks at both 38 degrees, because there'll be 2 of them. In other words, if I look at where my protractor's at right here, oh boy, please come back. If you look at your protractor, there are in fact 2 places where 38 degrees would fall. One of them, here's 30 degrees and 40 degrees. 38 would be right here. The other one, 30 and 40 is right here, so 38 degrees would be right here. How do I know which one to pick? Because what I'm going to do is I'm either going to draw from my vertex to this one to make that 38 degree angle, or I'm going to draw from the vertex to this one to make the 38 degree angle. Which one is this 38 degrees from here to here, or is this 38 degrees from there to there? Again, that goes back to acute and obtuse angles. Is 38 degrees a small angle, or is 38 degrees a large angle? Okay, it's the small one. So you have to pick this 38 degrees and get rid of this 38 degree one. You don't have to draw both of them, because you should figure it out before that time. By the way, for those of you who are thinking about this, oops. If this angle was 38 degrees, guess how many degrees this one was when I had it up here? Elijah says, nope. Remember, those 2 numbers always add up to 180, so the big one would have to be, what plus 38 gives you 180? Laney? No, 142. You're close. Go ahead and draw line number 2 there, or angle number 2 for me. 85 degrees. Always start with a straight line ray. There's 2 85s on your protractors, but you have to take the one that is less than 90 degrees. And everybody should be relatively lucky. Go ahead and keep right on the roll, and if you think you got it, come back and take a look. Remember, your angles can't be, if it's less than 90 degrees, it can't be.
the protractor, so the piece with that's the line. There's like kind of hard to look at the local supposed to be. So we line up the lines together, right? Then you look for places on the protractor, it's right up. Look at the place on the protractor, where the 38 degrees can be. So the unit's gonna fall between 30 and 40. So we put them right there, that's one choice. Or between 30 and 400 here. That's what it is. So you're gonna pick either that, this one, or that. Which one is the third that you can make? That easy, that. Take that first one, this way. Okay, try that next one. Always connect, huh? Wait, you found it?
You're just laying here. I don't know how to say it.
Grace.
Yes.
You have a question?
Oh, yeah.
Jane, go and finish the rest of your So it's no time like the present or no present like time. Just make sure we have that. So that in the middle. So. Put that on there. Which we have lined up with the third thing in the shoulder and the photo. So it's going to be for that. Or there's another third and for the here. Which one's the